And the Oscar goes to Emma Stone.
In theaters Friday, please say hello to Ryan Gosling.
Chris in the center. Chris with your...
The decade of generation.
DiCaprio and one movie that...
Beyond the chaos of Hollywood cinema lies a much quieter world of avant-garde films and filmmakers. Artist Hollis Frampton was an independent filmmaker in the 60s and 70s who, like most independent filmmakers, pushed the visual and narrative boundary of film, ultimately challenging the viewers to pay attention to new and unfamiliar ways, such as how we as spectators perceive these films that to some may seem monotonous and boring, but have many layers of meaning to be peeled back.
The spectator, and the spectator's task in a way is to reconstruct the voyage, to try to connect one thing with another.
Through light, color, and sound, or the lack of sound, Frampton's work shows that films are not always predictable. By allowing the fundamental building blocks of film to be dissected or diluted, his work interacts with time and the obscurities of cinema. Utilizing factors like long takes and repetition, Frampton's films may stimulate the strange and uncomfortable, lacking the typical narrative. Considering the lack of a common film narrative, Frampton's art taps into the viewer in the idea of human consciousness, creating these visual experiences that stimulate both one's perception and the mind. Instead of thinking, what is this film about, he might have been trying to push, what are we as the viewers supposed to experience? Let's look at a more specific example of this. Surface Tension, directed by Hollis Frampton and released in 1968, expresses these ideas of perception through space and time. Within the first part of this film, we begin by feeling a sense of agency as the viewer, being able to choose what to experience and what to focus on, whether that be the phone ringing in the background, the time passing on the clock, or the actions of the man standing in the frame. Our attention is often shifted to the clock as he continuously stops talking and resets it. We see a much larger passage of time go by than what we are really experiencing. After only 3 minutes and 41 seconds of this, it cuts to a blank screen for 7 seconds. This pause is familiar to the viewer as we've seen these cuts before and gives the audience time to adjust to the fast accelerations that we've seen on screen already. The film then cuts to the next part, in which we experience the same acceleration as previously, but this time by the person walking with a handheld camera. As the filmmaker treks through a city and nearby parks, we hear a German-speaking voice over the top of the footage.
Sie verbringt den Sommer auf einem Chateau dort.
As you listen, it is not clear whether this is the same man as previously, but he consistently talks for the entire 3 minutes of this portion of the film. Again, we see time passing quickly as he makes his way through the city, continuing to communicate this feeling of space and time, whether that's being stuck in this consistent time loop we're witnessing or being encompassed by the sounds and imagery that we see and hear around us. There seems to be some tension that is building up as we don't know where he is going and why he's going there. As he arrives to the park, we see an increase in color and people, and he soon arrives to a body of water. The third and final part of this film begins after about 9 seconds of a loud buzzing sound over this shot of the still water. The sound quickly stops, and we then see a small goldfish in which seems to be trapped from the open water by glass. As the fish swims around and the water crashes against the glass, we see certain words appear and disappear on the screen. This lasts for about 3 minutes, similar to the rest of the film. We see the words flicker and the water continuously drowning out the fish. As predicted, this final part also lasts 3 minutes, and in the end, we are witnessing this idea of being trapped in this time and space continuum that has been created, ultimately represented by this goldfish. This section of the film is the most mysterious, and it doesn't necessarily fit into the other two parts. However, it shows this feeling of being trapped more obviously than the rest. Through this segment, Frampton invites us to contemplate the nature of time, movement, and the ways in which we can perceive the words we see on screen in relation to the imagery. The film then cuts back to the ocean waves that were present in the beginning of the film, and we see Hollis Frampton's initials at the very end. While this film is widely open to interpretation, space and time play a large role as we see a clock, fast motion, long distances, and many other manipulations disrupting the conventional flow of time, and Hollis Frampton invites viewers to contemplate the nature of reality, perception, and the human experience.